Hi, hello guys. This is Vijay, biology lecturer from Aileba Junior College. As you know that we have started our NEET series. Based on that we are discussing about each and every chapter in detail, followed by we are discussing the practice numericals. In that category today we are going to discuss about NEET biology unit 2 biological classification. In this particular chapter today we are going to discuss about gymnosperms. Under the plant kingdom. Let's start. Okay, gymnosperms. So today we are going with a new topic, that is gymnosperms, which is also called as seed plants without flowers. Seed plants without flowers, or we could also call it as plants with naked seeds. Yes. So these gymnosperms are the category comes under cryptogamy. Okay, so these gymnosperms along with angiosperms, which are included under spermatophyta, are nothing but seed bearing plants. The plants which are bearing seeds, which are called as spermatophyta. Okay, in gymnosperms, ovules that mature into seed that are freely exposed into the atmosphere by means of air or by means of water, any other medium. Okay, now let us talk about the gymnosperms general characteristic features. General characteristic features. Let us talk about in detail. Yes. First, let us talk about the habitat and distribution of gymnosperms or seed plants without flowers. Okay, say for example, like angiosperms, they have about 250,000 named species as comparing to near about 900 living species of the gymnosperms. Actually, the gymnosperms are nothing but they are the woody plants which do not bear flowers. They do not bear any flower, but they could able to bear the seeds. Yes, they could able to bear the seeds, and these seeds on the inner side of the scale like leaves which possesses and that are usually arranged spirally to form a cone like structure. The gymnosperm type of plants, they could able to produce the cone like structures. That is one of the special characteristic features of the gymnosperm. Okay, talking about the classification of gymnosperm, there are 4 different orders of gymnosperm with the living members which are still even which are existed. They are like Cycadales, the first category, Coniferales, the second category, Ginkgoes is the third category, Nitales, which are the fourth category. So these are the 4 different order under these the gymnosperms are existed. There are few other orders which are also known, but those orders are present in the form of fossil record, not in the form of living record. Okay, though these gymnosperm and angiosperms are vascular plants, but the xylem which is present in the gymnosperm, which is composed of only of the tracheids and woody parenchyma, but the wood fibers and the vessels present in xylem, that cannot be seen in the gymnosperm. There are no wood fibers and there are no vessels which are present in the gymnosperm. That is the reason the gymnosperms which are soft wood rather than the hard wood. Yes, now let us talk about the different order belongs to this gymnosperm. in that first category, that is cycads and its special characteristic feature. These are found in warm weather, and they have either short in size or tuberous and underground stems which are present, and these underground stems are erect, which are straight, and cylindrical stems above the ground with their large and compound divided leaves which are present, and they resemble the miniature palm tree for which they are usually mistaken. Most of the plants under these cycads are resemble to the palm tree, but they are looks like the small size of the palm tree, like miniature palm tree, and they are extensively grown in garden. These particular cycads type of plants are being grown in the garden for the purpose of ornamental, especially like in very big universities, colleges and garden campus, and where these type of plants are used as a ornamental purpose. And these cycads always bear two kind of trees, one of which they could produce male cone, the other one that could produce the female cone which is also called as the ovules. That is the reason these particular type of plants are dioecious. Dioecious are nothing but sexually distinguished and differentiated. Yes. So now let us talk about the conifers. Conifers and its characteristic feature. This conifers, which includes for pine, is one of the best example. Pine, cedar is the other example. Yes. And spruce is the another example. Fir and redwood trees, these all are the few examples under the category of these coniferales or conifers. And these conifers, they could form the largest group which contain more than 500 species, and they constitute the largest dominant vegetation in cooler northern areas of Europe, Asia and North America, and they are also found in certain places of the Himalaya. Okay, so the needle like leaves of these particular plants, they are evergreen and which are specially adapted for xeric condition. Xeric is nothing but the condition where the climate that is randomly reducing to 0 degree. Okay, so the condition where that could feel the much cooler the temperature. So there these particular plants can able to survive. And conifers, they could bears for two different kind of cone. One that could produces for pollen, the other one that could produces for egg cells. And these pollens are nothing but the male gametopoietic cell, whereas the egg cells are nothing but the female gametopoietic cell. So here also we could able to see dioecious type of plant, right? And talking about the economical importance of these coniferals, like pine, cedar, redwood tree, these are. Now these conifers are the most important economical for the human purposes are they could produce the wood, and that wood are used for construction purposes and building construction purposes and paper manufacturing and preparation of paper pulp from the industries or the manufacturing units. And the pine nut, the pine tree and its nuts, which are edible purposes, which are used as, and resin which are secreted by such a plants, say for example like pine, pinus and cycas. These plants, they could produces the resin, and this resin is used for the preparation of tar and also turpentine oil, and also this particular resin is used for the preparation of wax and candle like substances. Okay, and the berries which are produced from the juniper, which are used for the flavoring of alcoholic beverages such as gin. Okay, so these are the few the economical importance of the coniferals. Yes. Talking about the historical evidences of this gymnosperm, the geological studies that reveal the gymnosperms that could appeared in Paleozoic era which is around 200 million years ago, and unlike the present day of gymnosperm, few gymnosperm they could appeared during the past geological ages, and this has been confirmed by the studying of the fossil evidences present on the earth. So the gymnosperms, which are also known as the ancient than the angiosperm, the gymnosperms are the ancestor of the angiosperm, we could explain. And certain primitive gymnosperms which are represented both in living and the fossil form towards the end of the Mesozoic era during Cretaceous period, and the gymnosperm they could gradually give way to the structure of the angiosperm. So it's very simple to explain that the angiosperm would evolve from the gymnosperm. There are few evidences, and the gymnosperms are usually they are the woody type of plants, and they are represented by means of the trees, small shrubs, and usually they are perennials. Perennials are nothing but they could continue its life cycle, or they could comprises its life cycle for many years, and they also bear the taproot system, and they may exhibit association with the algae to form the coralloid roots. It is only a type of special type of root like structure appearing with the symbiotic composition with the algae, and also with the fungus to form mycorrhizal root. Here also they could involve for the symbiotic type of nutrition. They could help for the survival of algae and fungus like cycas and pinus. These are the few examples. Talking about leaves, the leaves may be of only one kind, or there are two different kinds like foliage leaves or scale leaves. The leaves may be reduced like a needle like structure in pinus, and which is reduced in size in epithra is the best example, or sometime which is enlarged in size and pinnately compound like cycas like plants. So leaves showing various structure. Okay, the ovules are arthrotropous, and which are covered by a single integument, which is usually made up of outer fleshy layer and the middle stony layer and the inner fleshy layer. So this is about the structure of the ovule. Then talking about the female gametophyte, that constitute by the haploid endosperm, on which 2 to 8 archegonia that could be present, neck canal cells which are usually absent. Talking about the sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction for gymnosperms are usually oogamous type. We know very well about what is the meaning of oogamous type, right? Oogamous type is nothing but there are two different distinct gametophytic structures like microspores or megaspores. The microspores are nothing but these are the male gametophytic cell, and the megaspores are nothing but these are the female gametophytic cell, where the megaspore cannot move, that is fixed or sedentary in the plant body, whereas the microspore are the male gametophytic cell which are usually motile. So they could bear some cilia or flagella like structure, or they may be carried through the wind or through the water, and they could reach to the megaspore where the fertilization takes place. The fusion of the microspore and megaspore takes place. The formation of zygote appear. Okay, so these type of the sexual reproduction usually call it as oogamous type of sexual reproduction, right? Now talking about the male cones that could bear the microsporophylls, on which the microsporangia which are present, and these microsporangia that could bear numerous pollen grains which are also called as the microspores, and they are formed in the microsporangia, and that they could lead for the development of male gametophyte. Okay, talking about the pollen tube The pollen tube usually grows through the female gametophyte and they could reach to the archegonium. Here, in gymnosperm, instead of the presence of cilia or flagella, the pollen itself develop a pollen tube, and this tube will enter into the female reproductive organ or the archegonia, and there the pollen could exchange its nucleus. So once the nucleus could be exchanged, there the fertilization occur, the formation of zygote occur. Okay. And during this sexual reproduction, the polyembryony stage is common in gymnosperm. Oospore that could form the embryo, and the ovules which are transformed into seeds, and these seeds which contain 2 to many cotyledons that could germinate to give rise to the diploid type of plant. So these are the general characteristic features of the gymnosperm. So now let us talk about the general characteristic features of Pinus in detail. Let us talk about the habitat. Pinus, these are the typical example for the gymnosperm type of plant. And the habitat, when we are talking about the mature plant of the Pinus, that is a large tree that could grow up to 30 to 70 meter in height, and which is differentiated into thick columnar stem, leaves and roots. The entire thallus or the plant body is distinguished into 3 different parts: the thick columnar stem, leaves or branches and root system. And it is widely distributed in the hilly area or the mountain where these particular species could grow, and they grows on the shallow soil which is present on the rock and bearing the taproot system, which do not penetrate very deeper layer of the soil, but they could able to penetrate the shallow layer of the soil. The main trunk represent the stem, which is cylindrical or the branched structure, and the branches which are confined to the upper part of the stem, while the lower columnar stem that could appear very naked. And earlier we have discussed in detail about the economical importance of pine or a pinus tree. The pinus plants are the major source of the different commercial product which are manufactured in the industry, like timber, resin, and the resin which are further used for the preparation of turpentine oil, tar, and candle wax like structure, raft paper and paper or paper pulp, and these all are certain commercial uses of the pinus plant. Now let us talk about the external morphology or the general characteristic features of pinus plant. So let us talk about the general characteristic features of pinus. The mature plant of the pinus, which is large tree shaped structure, and that could grow up to 30 to 70 meter height, and which is differentiated into 3 major parts of the very thick columnar stem, evergreen leaves with branches, and the root system. The main trunk that could represent the stem, which is cylindrical in structure and also branched, and the branches which are confined to the upper part of the stem, while the apical bud of the main stem that grows faster than the apical buds of the branches. Now let us talk about the nature of the branches in pinus plant. The branches which are arranged in acrobetal order, and thus giving the pyramidal structure or the conical shape appearance to the tree. Acrobetal is nothing but a cone like structure that could show for the external morphology or the external feature of the pinus plant. And the branches which are of 2 types: the long shoots are the branches of unlimited growth, dwarf shoots are the branches of limited growth. So there are 2 different shoot systems can be seen. Shoot system is nothing but the stem. Yes, talking about the long shoot system, these are normal type of the branches that is present on the main stem, and that could bear the terminal bud it is apex, hence the unlimited growth can be seen for the long shoot. The dwarf shoot are also called as branches with limited growth, which are also called as spur, and these branches they could develop on the long shoot in the axil of the scaly leaf, and they do not produce the apical bud at their apex. That is the reason the growth could be limited or the growth could be stunted. This would appear for the appearance of cone like structure from the vision through the external morphology. And this particular chapter, unit 2 biological classification, we will continue with one more video. In that video we are going to discuss about angiosperm or flowering plants in detail. Until then, thank you guys.